460 to the work. And let's all stand. Hymn number 460.
4 days on.
All your details worked out for your ladies meeting? Yeah. Yes. So thank you, ladies, for hanging around and squaring that away. And then do be in prayer for all what's going on. Don't forget, next Sunday, Grandparents' Day, with the lunch to follow for all of our senior saints and all of our grandparents. So hang around. Let's do a little bit of fellowshipping around the table. Amen. And then don't forget about the young people. If they have a meeting lined up this weekend, Friday or Saturday or both. Saturday, and it's in Peoria.
8 a.m. at Selby House.
8 a.m. at the Selby House is what time they'll be leaving. So I don't know if he approved that by Heather, but we're making it public. So be in prayer about that, and be in prayer for young people as they go there. And then also, don't forget about our first responders Appreciation Sunday coming the 17th. And I failed to mention this morning. If you would like to give to the Bible memory sticks for the military Bible memory sticks. We're doing that this month as there's a match going on this month. A private donor is going to match 1-for-1 for everybody that donates one this month. I'll get you more details on it. It was supposed to have come in the mail already, but it wasn't there as of today. So as soon as we get that, I'll put that before you. We'll show the video and some things like that. Again, to remind you, we want to do that, and a great response. Last time, I want to thank you for that, for your care for our military and spreading out. And there's still a tremendous need. The soldiers are requesting, I think the number was something like 100,000 of them are being requested a month that the chaplains are receiving requests. Now that's not in one patrol point, right? That's all chaplains in all different places, but nevertheless, 100,000 of those, the request is for 100,000 of a month. So we want to try to provide some more of those. And I know we can't do all of that, but let's do a portion of that, amen? And let's ask the Lord to help us, and then by faith we'll trust Him to use other people to meet other needs, just like this private donor that's willing to match them this month. So let's be in prayer about that. Help us with that. Let's pray together right now. Lord, we come to you at this time. We thank you for all that you've done. We thank you for this day you've given us the opportunity to be here. We thank you, Lord, for the privilege of prayer. Thank you, Lord, for this morning's service and the sweet spirit for everyone that was here. We ask you, Lord, to be with us in our services this evening. I pray that you speak to us and guide us. As your word is open, Lord, I pray that you give us something especially for us, Lord, that you would help us have a lingering thought that would guide us through the evening and through tomorrow. I pray, Lord, as we study together and we learn from God's Word together, Lord, that you would help us. I pray that you strengthen us, and Lord, I pray that we would be motivated to serve you. I ask you now to be with our services this evening, be with the song service, be with the time of prayer, and be with the time of preaching. Lord, use these things for your glory. In Christ's name, amen. You may be seated. Let's sing once again.
All right, let's turn over to hymn number 257, In the Service of the King, 257. I'm happy in the service of the King. I am happy, oh so happy. I am pleased to know that nothing else can bring. In the service of the King. In the service of the King. Every talent I will bring. I have peace and joy and blessing in the service of the King. I am happy in the service of the King. I am happy, oh so happy. Through the sunshine and the shadow I can see. In the service of the King. In the service of the King. Every talent I will bring. I have peace and joy and blessing in the service of the King. I am happy in the service of the King. I am happy, oh so happy. To his dying and forever I will cling. In the service of the King. In the service of the King. Every talent I will bring. I have peace and joy and blessing in the service of the King. I am happy in the service of the King. I am happy, oh so happy. All that I possess to him I gladly bring. In the service of the King. In the service of the King. Every talent I will bring. I have peace and joy and blessing in the service of the King.
All righty. Come on forward, gentlemen, if you would. Thank you for that. Continue to pray for one another. Pray for our country, we mentioned earlier. And then as well as the prayer sheets. If you don't have one, be sure and get one on your way out tonight. Pray for those requests on the prayer sheet. And if you have a prayer request, we would appreciate if you pass it along to us no later than Monday evening so that we can get that on there by Wednesday evening so it'll be updated. That will help us tremendously and cut down on maybe some of the public sharing time so that we can get that on there and make it easier for everybody to remember, okay? Thank you for that. Brother Ron, if you would ask for the blessing upon the altar.
Lord, thank you once again for this day. Thank you for gathering us all here. We pray for those who aren't with us, Lord, just that you return back to us from sickness or from traveling. Lord, be with us at service. Fill us with your spirit. Open our hearts and minds with the message, Lord. Use us offering for your glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
step over to hymn number 209. His grace is sufficient for me. 209.
Numbers chapter 8. Do be in prayer for our church, do be in prayer for our community, and for our country, as North Korea has not been behaving himself very wisely, and pardon me when I say this, I want to explain myself. We need to pray for North Korea. Can I say something to you? I hope you realize that the leaders of that country block whatever they don't want anyone there to see or know about anything that's going on anywhere else in the world. So, for the most part, probably the people of North Korea think that the rest of the world is all like the way we feel about North Korea. Corrupt and violent and overbearing and bullyish and all those things. And yet, we understand and know that really the fact of North Korea and their very childish leader is a threat to not only us, but to a lot of people. What was it, a week ago or so, he shot a missile across, on Friday, 9 days ago, they shot a missile across Japan, landed in the ocean on the other side of Japan. Actually, so he's getting more brazen, being more tempting to the leaders of our nation, so be in prayer for leaders of our nation, and be in prayer for other countries affected by this, and then also for the folks there in Texas and what's going on recovering from the flood and the hurricane, and also be in prayer for our own country and the division that we've seen recently, as we need to come back together as a country and realize that we need to stand together and understand what we're standing for. Amen? Numbers chapter 8, just a simple little thought tonight, just to because I can. I'd like to try to let you out early so I can tell Austin, sorry about that. I'm so sorry. Throw something at me right now. I'm fine. But I can tell Austin to get out early. So because he's not here tonight, so we want to give him that opportunity to be mad at me. So every chance that we get. But no, seriously, the thought tonight is a very simple thought, but I hope it's be something that will help you. Numbers chapter 8 here, we find out a lot of things going on in Numbers. We won't go through all of these things that lines around our text, but basically, we're going to start here at about verse 14 in chapter 8. Thus shalt thou separate the Levites from among the children of Israel, and the Levites shall be mine. Numbers chapter 8, verse 14, now 15. And after that shall the Levites go in to the service of the tabernacle of the congregation and thou shalt cleanse them and offer them for an offering. For they are wholly given unto me from among the children of Israel, instead of such as obey every womb, even instead of the firstborn of all the children of Israel, have I taken them unto me. For all the firstborn of the children of Israel are mine, both man and beast. On the day that I smote every firstborn in the land of Egypt, I sanctified them for myself. Think about that real quickly. We won't linger there. But you remember the story of the children of Israel and how God provided for them. And they were under the watchful eye, if you will, not in a kind way. They were under the control of Pharaoh there in Egypt. And how that 400 years they've been in slavery, they've been enslaved there to Pharaoh. And God calls Moses, and you can look at that, but God called Moses and tells him to go and speak to Pharaoh and tell him to let his people go. And at that time, Moses was not among the captive. He was still in Pharaoh's house. But he said, I want you to go and tell him to let my people go. So Moses chose to be identified with the children of Israel. And then as a result, he said, Pharaoh said no. And you know the story. And then finally Pharaoh says, who says to me, let the people go? He says, the great I am. That's what God told him to say. He says, I am that I am, said this. So he tells him, and he says no. So God sends a plague, and Pharaoh was affected by the plague. So he goes to Moses and says, tell God to lift the plague, and I'll let him go. I'll let your people go. And God lifted the plague, and Pharaoh backed out. 9 more times. It happened 10 plagues in all, but the 10th plague was different. See, the first 9 plagues were exclusively upon Egypt, but the 10th plague would affect Israel as well. So God tells Moses, here's what I want you to do. This time he doesn't go to Pharaoh, he just goes to Israel. He says, tonight, the death angel. That's not the right wording, by the way. I think if I need to go back and look at it, I'm pretty sure, I apologize, I'm just going off memory, but I think it said I don't think it says a death angel, but nevertheless, he said, I'm going to pass by. The Lord said, I'm going to pass by. And what I want you to do is, I want you to kill a lamb, one for every household. And if a household's not big enough for that lamb, then take a lamb for 2 households. And everyone should kill a lamb or share a lamb. And I want you to cover the doorpost and the lintel of the door. Dip his branch in the blood and paint the door, post and lintel. And when you do so, when I pass over, if I see the blood, I'll pass over you, and everything will be okay. But for whose house is not the door is not painted, the first one of man and beast should be killed. Now, that happened. And it would have happened, Israel, first man and beast would have died as well. But because they obeyed God, it didn't happen to Israel, it happened in Egypt. And the Egyptians woke up as light became the spring, and people started to get up. They realized that every household was affected by death. Every household was affected by death. Firstborn of man and beast. I'm the firstborn. That would have affected my parents. Hey, the beast wasn't our dogs and our pets and our cats and things like that. It was their livelihood. It affected everything about them. Every house was affected. But on that night, Pharaoh, the 10th plague was so great, so grievous that Pharaoh didn't just say let them go. He ran them out of the land. But then, just as the other 9 previous times, his heart grew harder, and now he sought to smite them, kill them. So he took off, he and his army after them after they were ran out of land. You know the story how they came up against the Red Sea, and basically the children of Israel started to complain immediately. Isn't it amazing how quickly we are like them? How we can see God do something amazing. And I mean, just think about this. God had just spared their life in a very miraculous way just hours earlier. And now they're crying out and saying, we could have died over there. Why are we coming out here to die? You know, do we really think that God's going to do something great for us just for us to be uncared for the next hour or the next day? Of course he's not. His mercy endureth forever. So we find out that they're up against the Red Sea, and it's a test of faith because they have to enter the promised land by faith, and they're not there yet. But it took faith to get them where they are to that point. Right? The very painting of the doorpost lintel was such a strange thing, but they did it in obedience, and faith preserved them. Now there's the Red Sea, and how what are they going to do? They're between a rock and hard place. Literally, they can't go anywhere. Pharaoh's armies are behind them. They can't go forward. They can't get away. And God basically tells Moses, long story, but he just stretch your rod. What's in your hand? A rod. Stretch it forth. Stretch it forth, and the Red Sea opens up. And it doesn't just open up. It dries up in that portion. It was parted and dried up. The Bible says they crossed over on dry ground. Amazing miracle. They didn't have to wade through the mud and the grit and the grime, it was dry ground. They cross over, get on the other side. They look back, and again, the screams, the cry, the horror. Pharaoh and his armies are coming, they're coming. And God waits till his timing is right. And they get in the midst of the sea, the Red Sea, and when Pharaoh and his armies are in the midst of the sea, that he allows the water to come together again. Pharaoh, his armies, and the horses all drowned. So this disputes and debunks all of the arguments that people want to use about God providing miracles to save the children of Israel. About the Red Sea being knee-deep, and there was an underground, an underwater bridge, so to speak, and it was the time of year where the Red Sea, that part of the Red Sea cross was very shallow and dried up that time of year. That's ridiculous. Pharaoh and his armies and the horses drowned in this. So nevertheless, they're in the wilderness now. For 40 years, they're going to wander around in the wilderness. And you're going to find some of those things recorded here in the book of Numbers, a lot takes place in the wilderness. But basically what happens is, the people come to Moses complaining, and Moses goes to God with their complaint. Immediately they get on the other side, and now they realize, oh, we're safe again. God not only spared our life to get us out of Egypt, he spared us life from Pharaoh. Now he's destroyed our enemy as well. Pharaoh he'll never pursue us again. They've seen God do amazing things, and almost immediately we find them crying out, saying, we're hungry. Well, there's stuff to eat. Yeah, but we don't want this food. We want the prison food we had back in Egypt. Literally, I'm paraphrasing, but that's literally what they say. We ate better than this. We were captives of Pharaoh. We want the prison food. And God provides for them, and then they cry out they want water, and God out of a dry rock provides water. And on again. So God provides manna for them every day. You say not every day. Yes, he provided for them every day. It's just a day before the Sabbath. He told them to gather twice as much so they could have sustenance for the next day. He provided water for them out of a rock. Not only once, but again. He provided clothes that would never wear out, shoes that would never grow tight on their feet. Over and over and over again. For 40 years they've seen God's miracles every day. A cloud by day to shelter them from the heat. Fire by night to warm them and light the way. Every single day they've seen God's hand working. I'm going to ask a question tonight. Do you look for God's hand working every day? Do you look for God's miracle every day? Because I promise you they're there. He's not forgotten us, forsaken us, neglected us. If we, being evil, know how to give good gifts to our children, how much more then does our Heavenly Father know how to give good gifts to his children? Every day he provides for us. Every day he sustains us. Every day he protects us. Every day he speaks to us. And I say, if we don't see that, and all of us are guilty of not seeing it at times, we get busy, we get tired, we get overwhelmed, we get hurt, whatever, and we miss those things, but they're there. And you know what happens when we're not looking and we're not seeing them? You know what happens? We complain. Let's be honest for a moment. Today we went home from church, and my wife prepared one of my favorite meals. I have a few hundred of those, but she prepared one of them today. Meatloaf. Mashed potatoes, not out of a box. The kind you peel and mash, you know. Peas, hominy. Oh, hominy.
Yes.
A meal in itself, you know. I mean, deviled eggs, angel eggs, right? That's what we call them, angel eggs, right? Angel eggs, you know. And I mean, it was so good. And Jacob's, we're getting ready to eat lunch. Jacob says, what do you want to drink, Dad? And I said, milk. Crystal, then she ruined it. Don't drink all my milk. Okay, Jacob, I'll drink Coke. Because there wasn't but a half a gallon left. And Crystal knew, I'm not exaggerating, Crystal knew if I sat down at the table that half gallon will be gone before I got up from the table. It's very easily done. And I love milk, and so now I drunk Coke. But here's the thing, my favorite meal, if I don't look for her, realize that she loves me, cares about me, provides for me, that was for me, then I'll find something to complain about. Has anybody ever done? Yeah. I'll find something to complain about. You're right, get her. But shame on us for being down to half a gallon anyway. Normally, we have a whole refrigerator garage that many times has been filled with the majority of it was filled with milk. I'm not exaggerating. That's Chris. I've been known to bring home 10 gallons at a time. I love it. Milk is my favorite drink, I tell you. And the other night, Jake stored it was on $7.99 because it was about to run out of date. He brought it home on the 30th. He said the date was out on the 1st. I said, he brought home 2 gallons. I said, it'll be gone. It was. You know what he said the next day? I should have bought more. You're right. And but here's the thing. If I don't look for God's blessings, if I don't seek to realize and know His presence and His mercy and His provisions for me, I'll find something to complain about. You know, I wasn't complaining eating that meatloaf. Matter of fact, they didn't complain when I ate a second helping. They didn't complain when I asked for another egg, more hominy, another meatloaf. And then I even have a little thing in the house. I said, I call it for lunch, you know, because we have a little thing, because we don't normally have leftovers. And if there's one portion, somebody always snags it. Well, this was mine. And so I call it for lunch tomorrow. There's a little more than one portion left. But nevertheless, if I don't look for that from God, just like I don't look for it from my wife, I can find something to complain about. I can find lots of things to complain about in my life. You know why? Because everybody's like me. Shame on you, by the way, for not being like me. You know? I mean, there would not be any help. You're right. And but think about this. If you were exactly like me, I would have a lot to complain about. You would too. Because you're just like me. But think about it, we're all different. We're going to have different things that we like and things we don't like. And some people's going to make good decisions that we like, and some going to make decisions we don't like. And some people's going to go a certain direction and choose a certain career. Tonight, Sarah, I talked to Mom and Dad for a few minutes today. Sarah, I said, what's Sarah doing? They said, we don't know. She left us. I said, she gone to Linda's? They said, no. The dorm leader, RA or whatever you call it, had called her and said, why don't you come down and do our devotions tonight? So she went back and stayed in the dorms one more night to do the devotions at the college tonight, you know. And so the thing about it is, you know, we can say, well, I don't like what one person is doing. Well, let's be careful for a moment, because there's probably things about us they don't like what we're doing either. But the thing about it is this. I may or may not like some things. I'm not talking about sinful behavior. Don't get me wrong. But I may or may not like some things, but if I'm not careful, I'll find a reason to complain about everything. I will. I can. Give me a subject and I'll complain about it. All right? And, I mean, you can too, right? Every one of us can. We'll find something to complain about. But here's the thing about it is, 40 years God provided every day. They couldn't miss it. A cloud to provide shade. Jacob made a statement yesterday. We were out working. I know it was hot. And it was a little bit humid yesterday. And we were out working the entire day. And it was about 2 o'clock or something. It was so hot. And we were sweating like crazy. And Jacob said, well, at least we have cloud coverage or something to that degree. I said, it doesn't help a lot. I am not exaggerating. Within about 45 minutes, the cloud was gone and the sun was out. It helped a lot. Every single day, there was a cloud that provided shade for them. Every single night, there was a fire that provided heat for them and light for them. Every single day, their clothes were intact. Their shoes were intact. Every single day, there were groceries to eat. Every single day, they was provided for. And they didn't see it. They still complained and griped and murmured. Notice this real quickly. We read a text. So he says, as they got out of Egypt there, he says, I sanctified the firstborn of Israel, of their animals, and of mankind for me, the Lord says. The Lord says, I set them apart for me. He says again in verse 17, for all the firstborn of the children of Israel are mine, both man and beast. On the day that I smote every firstborn in the land of Egypt, I sanctify them for myself. And, notice this, and, this is still God talking, I have taken the Levites for all the firstborn of the children of Israel. And I have given the Levites as a gift to Aaron. Hey, you like that, Aaron? And to his sons from among the children of Israel, to do the service of the children of Israel in the tabernacle of the congregation, and to make an atonement for the children of Israel, that there be no plague among the children of Israel when the children of Israel come nigh unto the sanctuary. He said, I have sanctified the firstborn of man and beast for myself, the Lord says. And I've taken the firstborn of the Levites for the children of Israel. Think about this for a moment. It's another way that God provided for them. He said, I'm going to provide them to do the service of the tabernacle. I'm going to provide them so they can keep their life clean, so they can keep their life holy, so we can keep disease out, we can keep everything right where it be. I provided for them once again by sanctifying the Levites for the firstborn that I preserved, that I sanctified for me. So we often would say it this way. People would say this sometimes. They would say, I'm not going to church because all a preacher ever does is preach on money. Well, that's not true. Unless that's what you're wanting to complain about. And I guarantee you'll find it in the message. And I'm going to give you the chance to right now, by the way. How's that? We'd say, has anybody ever heard anybody say something like, well, I can't really afford to tithe? I'm not asking you to answer that. I'm just asking you ever thought that or had somebody say that to you? Let me ask a question. Does the tithe come before God provides for you or after God provides for you? So that means if we can't afford to tithe, we got something out of priority because God gave it to us up front. Right? Well, notice this. So if we tithe, and you're more than welcome to correct me if you think I'm out of place in saying this, but when we tithe and we give our offerings to the Lord, about those are two different things. When we tithe, then that means if we sanctify a portion of what God has already given us, if we purposely set aside a portion for God, that means that He, in turn, sets apart something else for us. Is that what it sounds like tonight? I mean, think about this. That means if I am obedient to God in this area of my life, and I sanctify this area of my life, then that means God will sanctify something else to cover that area of my life. Is that what He did? He taught the firstborn of man and beast, I sanctified for myself, He says, and I sanctified the firstborn of the Levites for the children of Israel. That there be no plague, there be no disease, that they'll be pure. So when they come into the congregation, everything will be cared for. I've provided someone to meet the need of that which you have given to me. I want you to get this tonight. This is simple. But it's so misused. Does God own everything, by the way? Yes. So if He provides a paycheck for us through an employer, through Social Security, through retirement, through investments or whatever, it's really God that provides that, okay? Let's go ahead and level the table. It's God that provides it. He uses people, but it's God that provides it. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over shall men give in your bosom. Is that our verse this month, by the way? Shall men give in your bosom. For with the same measure you meet, therefore it shall be met unto you. So God uses people to meet our needs. In doing so, every area of our life that we're obedient and we sanctify unto Him, that means He has already got something else set aside to meet the need of what we gave to Him. One person said it this way, you cannot outgive God. Can we be foolish? Yep. But that's not what I'm talking about. We need to be faithful. You can't outgive God. You can't outgive God with your time. I know everybody's schedule is busy, mine included. But just like I said to someone this past week, I was talking to Steve Grubbs, actually, so it was. And he was having such health issues, and his schedule was so busy. And I simply said to him, I said, Brother Steve, let me ask you a question. When God called you to start the ministry there at Shenandoah over 40 years ago, was you just sitting back on your hands, twiddling your thumbs then? He said, no. I said, when God called you to go to New Vineyard, Maine and restart a dying church, was you just sitting on your thumbs there at Shenandoah and you're easy boy because you had nothing to do? He said, well, no, Brother Darrell. He knew I was messing with him. We're dear friends. I said, Brother Steve, you know what it is? I said to him, I said, why don't you make a phone call? I gave him a person's name. I said, why don't you make a phone call to this person? I believe this person loves you and will help you in this area. He said, Brother Darrell, he is so busy. They're starting 6 churches right now. I said, Brother Steve, you need to call him. I guarantee you when you call him, he will listen to your need. And the Lord may use him to meet that need. Because you wasn't sitting around when God used you. And he's not sitting around and he wants to be used of God. Now let's think about this real quickly. Our emotions, our finances, our time. All these things are areas that we carry around in our own life that we struggle with, and we struggle with balancing. We talked about that last week at Boss Balancing. We struggle with balancing those things. I do. I struggle with balancing those things. I was on the phone with Brian Shannon today. A few weeks ago, he invited me to go with him and Billy Ford, a guy from their church, and a couple young men from Son of Shoebab's church. And I'm the old man of the bunch. And they invited me to go with them to hike the Grand Canyon this week, Thursday, Friday, and just Thursday and Friday. We'll be coming back Saturday. So we're going to the North Rim, or the South Rim. We're going to hike to the North Rim and camp and fish and do some things on Thursday. And then we're going to hike back on Friday, come back a different route, and hike back on Friday, and then come home Saturday and stop and see some things that are in Flagstaff and stuff. And we're going to have fun, and it's great. I was talking to him today about some different things. And I simply said to him, I said, Brian, the reason I've been so hesitant about giving you a confirmation, because last week I said, maybe we are, I don't know, we'll see. I said, I've got so much to do. You know what his next word to me was? He said, Brother Darrell, he said, sometimes you just have to say it'll be there when I get back. I said, I know, Brian, and I'm going. I said, but I have so much to do. Did I tell you I struggle with balancing some of those things? So we think about this area in our life. I think it's a great example. Real quickly, I'm going to hurry through this because I still want to get out of here early. And the Bible says, and I have taken the Levites for all the firstborn children of Israel, and I have given the Levites as a gift to Aaron and his sons from among the children of Israel to do the service of the children of Israel in the tabernacle of the congregation, and to make an atonement for the children of Israel, that there be no plague among the children of Israel when the children of Israel come nigh the sanctuary. Look at verse 20. And Moses and Aaron and all the congregation of the children of Israel did to the Levites according unto all that the Lord commanded Moses concerning the Levites, so did the children of Israel unto them. And the Levites were purified, and they washed their clothes, and Aaron offered them as an offering before the Lord, and Aaron made an atonement for them to cleanse them. And after that went the Levites in to do their service, notice this, in the tabernacle of the congregation before Aaron. God says, I've pulled out a unique crowd, a specific crowd. I've sanctified that crowd for me. But I'll tell you what, they had work to be done. And I'm not going to make it hard on everyone else because I pulled them out to me, so I'm going to provide someone else to do their portion of the work. Notice this, none of the rest of the tribes were affected by it. They just did what they were told to do. God provided the needs of the ones that God called out. I'm going to show you something real quickly. It's an amazing thing. As I look at this, by the way, this is something I've never seen before. I've never heard anybody, not that I'm anything new, but I have never seen this or anybody discuss this topic before. You know what got me to noticing this? What brought me to reading this passage? Turn over a few pages here. If I can find it. Maybe I can't, maybe I can. Here it is. Look in chapter 11. This is what got me to reading backward and looking at this story. And that's when I seen this. chapter 11 of Numbers, the Bible says, "And Moses went out and told the people the words of the Lord, and gathered the 70 men of the elders of the people, and set them round about the tabernacle. And the Lord came down in a cloud and spake unto him, and took the spirit that was upon him." Notice this, it's not a new spirit. It's the spirit that was on Moses. Guess what spirit that was? The Holy Spirit. "And gave it unto the 70 elders. And it came to pass that when the Spirit rested upon them, they prophesied and did not cease." Wait a minute. I'll read this again. You've got to catch this. "And Moses went out and told the people the words of the Lord, and gathered the 70 men of the elders of the people, and set them round about the tabernacle. And the Lord came down in a cloud and spake unto him, and took of the Spirit that was upon him," notice this, "and gave it unto the 70 elders." God had uniquely equipped Moses with the power to do what it's now going to take 70 men to do. Think about that. God says, "Moses, I need you to pull 70 men aside. 70 of the elders aside. Set them up. This needs to be people that you know are elders, their life is right. And set these people up." And he did that, and in doing that, God then called the spirit that was upon Moses to go upon those 70 men. And I just got me thinking. 70 men is going to take on what Moses has been doing. And I thought about that. I thought, wow. I hope when I stand before the Lord, I hope that he can say, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant," because I've had the ability to do what he asked one to do. Notice, remember Elijah and Elisha? What did Elisha ask of the Lord? He wanted what? Portion. A double portion. What a double portion. I'm thinking about that. I got to think about, wow, God, how did Moses get to doing this much that it takes 70 men to pick it up and do it? He didn't start doing it that day. It didn't all pile on him in one day. He started following the Lord back there. And in following the Lord, God gave you something to do, and God gave you something else to do, and 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 something else to do. And Moses never even realized that there was more going on in his life. He was just doing what God had given him to do. I heard Clarence Sexton say this one time. He said sometimes people ask him how he does all he does. He said he had never thought about that until that question was asked him. He said, he sat down and got thinking about, what do you mean all that I do? And he said, they said, well, you have a church that runs a few thousand. You have a Bible college, at that time probably ran about 800 or 900. Christian school ran about 250. You're in about 35 different public schools every week. You're at the University of Tennessee every single week. I mean, you're in like 12 or 13 nursing homes every single week. How do you do all that you do? He said, I sit there and listen to that, and as they rehearsed the things that they knew about the ministry, he said, I said to them, I'm just doing one thing. And he said, no. He said, no, I'm doing one thing. I'm pastoring Temple Baptist Church. That's what God has given me to do. Now, granted, was he the one doing all those things? No. He had people that God had given him to help in those things. But wait a minute. Had he not had the vision, the dream, the energy, the excitement about doing it, then God would have provided the people to help him do it. Someone once said that when people see things happening, they want to help. And some feel like they're neglected sometimes because, well, them people at work get all the help, and them people at work get all, and we can all take that pity party train. I've rode it many a time myself, you know. But I wonder if it boils down to what we're talking about back earlier. If God says, you know, those people that I sanctified to myself, those were the people that had already given themselves to serve in the tabernacle for the congregation. They had already given themselves to service. And God says, you know what? I'm going to sanctify them to myself. But I'm going to make sure they have somebody else that's keep on going. I'm just going to give them something else just to fill in the gap. And we're going to sanctify those Levites, and those Levites are going to take the place, and they're going to serve the tabernacle and the congregation. And nobody else is going to even realize it's going to be such a smooth transition. And yet, God just multiplied the servants without hurting anything. He sanctified, He cleansed them, He brought them in, they went through this ritual. But I got noticing this there in chapter 11, and it caused me to go backwards and start looking at this, and literally, this helped me. And Moses and Aaron and all the congregation of Israel, chapter 8 again, did the Levites according, and the verse 23 says, the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, This is it that belong with unto the Levites from 20 and 5 years old and upward, they shall go in to wait upon the service of the tabernacle of the congregation. And from the age of 50 years they shall cease waiting upon the service thereof, and shall serve no more. He says, you know what? I've got a specific age group that I'm going to use because they're in the strength of their life and their youth. They're 25 and up, so they're going to have a little bit of wisdom and experience behind them. They're going to be in the strength. And at 50 years old, I'm going to bring up a new generation, because it don't happen every 25 years. You realize that people being born all the time and dying all the time? So it's not like, okay, every 5 years, 10 years, God says, okay, it's time for a new batch. No. Every day, people come and go. Every day, people are born and die. Every day, people start and quit. Every day. So God says this. He says, I'm only going to use them from 25 to 50. But don't worry about it, because when they quit at 50, there's another one that's just turning 25. They'll never be a need. I'll just continue to bless you, just like the cloud, every single night. I mean, every single day. When the sun came up, the cloud came with it. And when the sun went down, the fire came with the setting of the sun. And every single morning, manna fell from heaven. And every single day God provided. Can I be honest with you? We get distracted. I wish it was like it used to be. Not really. You know why I say that? I'm a very, I don't know what that mindset is, but I really think I'd like to live in those days, you know? I really do think I'd like to live in those days. And as I say that, I'm thinking about how convenient my life is now. I mean, it really is kind of nice to not have to feed my vehicle I'm riding around and bathe it and doctor it every day. I just get to get in and crank it. I mean, every now and then you have to put a battery in your gas tank or tires or oil change, but for the most part, it's pretty convenient to get in the car and drive it. I don't have to saddle it, I don't have to cool it off, I just get in and drive it, you know. It's pretty nice to turn on the faucet and water come out. Don't be laughing at my broken down truck. And I know what Phil Rick's laughing at back there. I know them too. And but I mean, it's kind of nice to turn on my faucet and water come out, not to go outside and pump it. I know it's the same temperature it would be if it was outside, but nevertheless, you know, it's still nice to have it inside my house. It's kind of nice to hit a light switch and the room light up and not have to run lighting a bunch of candles or lanterns. But think about this. Here's what we often long for when we say about the olden days. We don't think about those things as much as we long for the mindset of Christ upon people. We long for the desire of people to be moral and ethical and helpful to their neighbor. We long for the ethics and the morals of society that we have seen back there, we see slipping away so quickly, and we long for the when children obeyed and respected their parents, and we long for, as a majority, now you understand there's always been that spirit of people that didn't, but you understand it wasn't that long ago when there was a different nature of our country. Much different. There was respect for the things of God and for adults and elderly, and there was care provided. And we do long for that. But can I say something to you? That didn't go away because God didn't want it to be here. It went away because we quit working for Him. And therefore, there was nothing that He was giving Him for Him to say, you know what? I need someone else to fill your shoes. Because here's the honesty of it is this. The majority of Christians maybe, and I hope this is not true, but maybe are kind of caught often in neutral. Or kind of caught in park. We might be sitting there with our engine running, we're going to church, but we're really not doing anything. sitting around. So therefore, because we've not sanctified ourselves to the Lord, there's no need of replacement. You ever had something in your house that you never used and it got broke and you didn't replace it because you never used it anyway? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? It could be an appliance. It could be something under the cabinet. It could be and you say, well, I never use it anyway. You know, your kids are going through the garage and they find a box and they, this is cool stuff. You know, what is all this? Well, that's the stuff we started housekeeping with. Well, what is this? That's a blender. You not use a blender? What is this? That's a whatever. And they plug it in. Well, it don't even work. Well, I just throw it away. I never use it anyway. Not being silly, but really. Everybody has owned an ice cream machine at least once in their life. And very few of them have ever been used. More than once. Because it's awfully convenient to go buy, right? Bluebell makes amazing ice cream in a half-gallon jug that's already made. And you can flavor it any way you want, and really it's cheaper to make it yourself anyway, you know? But you still have it, so when it gets gone, when it gets lost, often it's not replaced. You know why? Because we never use it anyway. Let's not let our Christian life be that way. Let's not let our Christian life, our testimony be so as such where if we were back in that story where God says, I'll tell you what, I've got some people set aside over here ready to go to work. I just need somebody to put them in the place of. There's nobody working. And yet God has a provision ready. He has it ready. He said, I just want to put somebody in there between 25 and 50 years old. I've got some young men. They're strong. They got some maturity about them. And they're ready to take off and serve. What do you need done? Well, nothing. You don't need anything? No, we're not really doing anything. Wouldn't it be a shame if that was us in that story that we're talking about? How about let's change the gears tonight? Let's end it with this. How about we determine that we're going to say, by the grace of God, I'm going to serve Him with my life. It may be in a scale of this big in some people's eyes, or it may be in a scale this big, or it may be in a scale this big, but I'm going to do something by the grace of God with what energy, what knowledge, what wisdom that God has given me. I'm going to do something for His glory so that when I'm gone, God will send someone else to fill my shoes. I've said this many times about people when they passed away in our church. I've had people that I had the privilege of pastoring that I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt prayed for me every day, cared for my family. And I've often said, I need someone to pick up where they live. I don't want to lose a prayer warrior on my behalf. But I wonder, could that be said of me concerning someone else's life? Hey, you say of you as I say of me. All right? Can I say, I want to be the person that stands in the gap in that person's life? And that way, if death does come upon us or something else happens, I by faith trust that God will use me, and I by faith trust God will use someone else in that person's life in my absence. Whether we relocate, whether we pass away, whether we become sick, or I want to be used of God, and I'm trusting that God has people. He has a reserve. He has people He wants to use to plug in my behalf. Because I've sanctified myself unto Him. I don't want the work of the Lord to cease. What if Moses, 70 men, elders, what if Moses had said, I'm tired of this complaining and murmuring. I'm done with this crowd. What if this, the work wouldn't have continued, and we wouldn't find the story in chapter 11 where 70 men are picking it up to carry it forward and carry it on? How about let's just determine not to leave here and let God use us for His glory. Lord, we come tonight, I thank you for all you've done.